44 million Americans have student loan debt. But the good thing about student loans is that they're not bad debt.
Boom, and that's what I want to focus on. Happy Tuesday evening, family. You know what? I will tell you this. If you follow this channel, you know I got really bad knee arthritis. And nothing makes me forget about my arthritis more than listening to TikTok videos of people who are in debt worse than I am, or people who have had debt experiences equal or near equal to what I had when I had $110,000 in college debt until it was forgiven in 2022. So let's go ahead, let's put our learning caps on, and let's listen to these TikTok debt videos. Most of these focus on college debt. Some of it focuses on private school debt, but man, let's figure out what the college talk is all about, because I can guarantee you folks, you don't see this stuff in the college brochures. Thanks so much for joining me. Let's hit it.
I turned 26 at the end of this year, and I have $111,000 worth of debt.
26 years old. So I teach middle school, so figure they're about, 13, 14. So within about a decade of my of them leaving my class, they got 120,000 or so in debt. Yeah, that's about the amount that I had in my college debt until, like I said, it was forgiven in 2022. That is a crap load of debt, family. It really, really is. And of course, if you listen to someone like Dave Ramsey, the first he's going to say is, oh, great, who's the doctor and lawyer?
Let's break that number down just a little bit. $68,825 is private student loans. I know, stupid.
You've heard me say this before. Private student loans, they sit right up there with Parent Plus. In fact, I would rather have you get a federal Parent Plus loan than have you get a private student loan. And they're all bad in my opinion. All of it. Student loan, I don't care. Okay? But if you have to pick between a Parent Plus or a private, I would go for a Parent Plus, but only if your parents have the means to pay off the debt. Not have the means to pay off the debt in the future. Like, yes, honey, go to school and, maybe that pay raise or whatever will come in for your parent. No, because you don't know what the future holds for your parent. From medical conditions, I can testify to that, to job losses. This is why it's very unsettling, in my opinion, when a parent signs on to a Parent Plus loan. They sign on to debt for their children. But oftentimes the parents are rounding the corner of getting themselves ready for retirement. And I've known people that were in their 40s and 50s laid off, from a job. Now imagine, you sign on, say your parent, you're 50 years old, you're signing off for your 20-year-old something or other child, and then you find yourself laid off at 58. Meanwhile, you just signed on to a, 10-year promissory loan. Don't commit yourself to stuff like that. But I don't like private loans either. It all just sucks.
Then federal student loans, I have $22,229.
Oh, and the other thing also with private loans, because he's got federal loans also, as some people say, there isn't a student loan that we don't like. I've been there, family. I've been there, okay? The thing to also remember this, guys, by the time you're getting to a private student loan, you are scraping the bottom of the barrel. It means you've run out of federal. Your parents choose not to, which is their prerogative, or they cannot, all right, help contribute to your college. So by the time you're down to private, as far as I'm concerned, you're down to loan sharking.
And then I have a car loan for $17,746.93. Then I have $1,400 on one credit card and just about $1,200 on another credit card.
And you can bet those credit card bills will continue to go up. Oh, jeez. At 57, I look back on my dumb self and, my two bankruptcies between credit cards in my early 20s, between, car in my early 30s, my mishap with student loans. Guys, I've been the whole gamut. And let me tell you, I don't ever want to go back, and I never will. And the reason I'll never go back is I have a different mind frame now. You see, if you change your mind frame, you can change your debt. Yeah. Change the way you think about things. Change the way you think about money. Learn from those experiences. Sometimes we have to go through experiences more than once. Okay, this lady here, and of course, all TikTok music I've kicked out for copyright purposes. So it's all YouTube or my music copyrighted. So here we go. There's a lady here. She says, point of view, they finally cancel federal student loan debt, but you only have private student loan debt. A lot of young people don't understand that these loan forgivenesses that you're hearing about, they're all federal. I actually watched a news report, and there was a young man on there. I don't know, I maybe mid-20s, okay? And they actually did a whole news segment on it. If I can find it, I'll post it, but I don't know if I can find it. It was like over a year ago. He had no idea that he had to pay on his federal loans. On his private loans. This was during the pandemic, and federal loan borrowers did not have to pay during the pandemic pause, all right? Well, you had private student loan people that were unaware that private loans do not follow federal loans. And so this young man, like I said, I think he was in his mid-20s, he had just accrued thousands of dollars, not just in the student loan that he hadn't paid, but the fee for not having paid. And he was like, I don't understand why. We heard that we didn't have to pay. Students, young people, older people who may not know, federal loans are completely separate from the loan sharking of private. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't like either one. And there is nothing. I would rather dump trash and wear my knee brace for 5 hours a day, all right, on top of my full-time teaching job than ever go back into student loan debt. It's just not happening. I am not going back into student loan debt again. But he truly didn't understand that private loans have none of the perks, benefits, legal rules, requirements of the federal loan. And like I said, even though student loan is not good, and to me it's just nothing more than a credit card, and you've heard me say that, it's nothing more than a credit card under the name Navient or Sallie Mae or whatever, okay? But the bottom line is your best bet for manageable student loan debt, and I put manageable in quotes because, like I said, federal loan, it gets pretty bad, okay? But at least under federal loan, there are more chances for it to fit your budget, albeit you may keep it around for a couple of decades, okay? But when you go private, hey, it's loan sharking. They can make that interest as high as they want. They can make it as variable as they want. They can do whatever they want. There are no guidelines.
In honor of it being tax day, I want to have a conversation talking about private student loan debt. Way back in the day when I went to college, the government told my parents that they, quote, made too much money, so therefore I could not get any kind of federal student loans to go to college.
Doesn't that suck? And I think a lot of us can relate to that. You're too, quote, rich. It's like, yeah, okay. And you're just on that borderline. If your parents made $5,000 less, sometimes it's even less than that, then you could have gotten federal help. I understand.
However, my parents could not afford for me to go to college and pay for college, so therefore we had to get a loan, aka a private student loan.
Horrible. Don't forget community college. There's today more than ever. Community college, 2 years. Then you go to a university, preferably one in state. Preferably one in a degree that's actually going to earn you an income and it's not a hobby.
So now, at almost 36 years old, I have $77,000 worth of student loan debt. My loan is a variable interest rate at 12.5%.
Okay, for those who don't know, a variable interest rate means the interest rate can blow with the wind. One day the wind blows at 12%, the other day it blows at 9%. Maybe you get a storm and it blows at 15%. Again, private loans have no control. It's private. It can, just the sound of it, private loans should scare you. And by the way, when you take out student loans, make them from the same, make them from the same bank. I don't know if that's really not an issue now because banks aren't involved in student loans, but at the time that I was getting my master's degree, okay, 2006 era, right around there, I at least was smart and made all my loans from Wells Fargo. And of course, they were federal. But I didn't go bouncing around to a bunch of different banks because it makes it harder to consolidate. Okay, so think about that. But as I said, when you get down to private loans, you are scraping the bottom of the barrel. Don't do it. Don't do it.
And my monthly payments is a little over $1,000 a month to pay for my student loan. Here is the real kicker though. Last year in 2023, I paid $12,000 in student loan interest, meaning that I hardly made a dent into my principal balance. Like an extra $1,000 a month for my family would be life-changing.
Remember this when you say to yourselves, oh, I will go to any school. I want to go to this school. I have to go to this dream school. My boyfriend's going to this school. My girlfriend's going to this school. My parents went to this school. Remember, family, your parents went to school when my mother could write a check for $500 for an entire, quarter of tuition. Yeah, like 500. Not 5,000. A few hundred. Because I used to watch her write the check. That's in the 80s. Imagine the extra $1,000 that it could do for her family, and imagine what it could do for your family. And even if you don't have a family, just what it could do for your life. You like to travel, you got an extra grand. Maybe not totally extra grand, but you know what I mean. You want to live in a nice, slightly nicer place, you got that extra grand. Working 2-3 jobs strictly to pay off student loan debt, I don't think it's worth it. It's just a personal opinion. Then again, for a while, not anymore, but for a while, I was certainly no expert at student loans. I had $84,000 in student loans by the time I was 34 to get my master's, to get 2 master degrees. And then because I couldn't pay on it, well, I paid on it, but I couldn't ever make enough as a teacher to pay it off. It went from $85,000 to $110,000 over 16 years. And then in 2022, August 2022 to be exact, it finally got forgiven. That was after 16 years of teaching because the god-awful PSLF program couldn't figure out what it was doing.
I would be able to do so much with $1,000, but yet here I am, I'm being tied down to the student loan. We're also going to use this video as a little PSA for any parent that's about to sign off on a private student loan. Do not do it. Do not put your child through what I'm going through at 36, okay? When I was 18, I thought, I'm going to be able to pay this back. It's going to be fine. I couldn't even finish my schooling. And here I am today.
How many 18-year-olds believe that the money that they borrow for school will be so easy to pay back? Oh, I understand I'm borrowing $75,000. That's not going to be a problem. I understand. Let's drop it way down. Oh, I understand I'm going to be borrowing $20,000 to find out they're serving coffee at Dunkin' Donuts. Young people do not have a concept of what it takes, not just in dollars in economic sense. It's kind of like this. You learn about math sitting in a classroom, looking at numbers on a chart and graph. That is completely different than learning about math in the real world and how much it's going to cost you to allow your friends to borrow your car because they're out of gas. How much it's going to cost you in insurance if you try to get a nicer car. How much it's going to cost you, or time it's going to cost you to pay off a bill. These are not concepts that you can possibly learn in a classroom. You can't. They're only things that real life teaches you. So when a young person sees, let's just go modest. A young person sees a $25,000 student loan bill, okay? And they think, oh, $25,000, okay? But you got to remember the $25,000 is what you've learned sitting in a chair. It's what you've learned about math sitting in a chair. You haven't, a lot of young people have not. They've not even had to pay off $1,000. They haven't even had to pay $500. But yet, their concept of math, and it's understandable, okay, is, oh, $25,000, that's not going to be hard at all. I have, and it's not surprising, okay, I have young students who aren't quite aware that, that you're going to have to pay taxes out of that check. So that $20 an hour job you got, by the time you take out taxes, might be $16 an hour. And that's if you're lucky, minus any other deductions and God help you wage garnishments and judgments. But the reason so many young people believe at 18 that, the student loan debt, the sky is the limit, because they haven't been brought down to earth yet to know just how hard are you going to have to work to pay it off. And you tell yourself at a young age, oh, I'll work really hard. I've always said, or I should say I've always believed, working hard to get through college, to get that diploma, to have the fun stuff, the good times while in college, is completely different than working hard after college to pay off the bill. People always wonder, why is it so easy to run up a credit card and so hard to pay it off? Piece of cake. Because running up a credit card requires no work. It requires no effort, no labor. It's just fun, fun, fun. But to pay it off is physical work, time work, it's labor, it's staying employed. It's a total different game, paying it off. For at least the next 10 plus years. And when I look at other repayment options, they're either too much money per month or too illogical long term. And it truly makes me spiral into further insanity. Family, this, you will never see it on a brochure when you're applying for your school because you refuse to go to community college, or if you refuse perhaps to delay college because maybe college isn't even right for you right now. So let's analyze this just a little bit, okay? Thinking at least once a week, I can tell you when I had my $110,000 student loan, I probably thought of it every day. It really is a ball and chain relationship. Okay, it's one of those things that after a while, it is so much a part of you. People wonder, why do student loans last forever? It's really simple why they last forever. Because we socially accept it. Oh, yes, you're going to have your student loan for 10 years. Yes, we have 20-year payment plans. Yes, we can extend it out to 25 years. You've got people with student loans from the 80s. Okay, when they tell you student loans will follow you to the grave, they will. So when I had 110, I don't think a day passed. I really don't. It's just a part of you, and you learn to live with it to some extent. It's also not shamed by society, and I don't think it should be, but in the sense of, we talk about credit card debt, and it's like, shame, shame, shame. You have $10,000 in credit card debt. Oh, you have $75,000 in student loans. Oh, well, that's cool. Now, that tide is slowly shifting as we become more aware of how student loan debt impacts not just our individual lives, but how it impacts potential future relationships, how it impacts families. So you got to think about that. So yeah, she's right. We think about student loans a lot. And I guarantee you, if you have a lot of student loans, you're thinking about it pretty much most of the time as well. Let's see here. She says her payments are doing nothing to chip away at the debt. That's right. And the payments won't chip away at the debt because what people forget is that student loan debt is just like a credit card. Family, the only difference between student loan debt and a credit card debt is one says student loan on it and the other one says Macy's. That's the only difference. And you can chip away or think you are, but if you're never paying past the minimum payment, the bill's only going to go up. You have to pay enough to cover the interest for that month, plus to dip into the principal. That's just like a credit card bill. There is no difference. There's really no difference. It's just the name and where the dollars are coming from. So that's why she's chipping away at it. There's also the frustration that she points out about, okay, you can take the student loan and you could refinance it. I know she doesn't use those terms, but that's what she's talking about. You could refinance the student loan, but now you're kind of between a rock and a hard place. You can go, okay, I'll take a 10-year loan, expand it out to 20 years. Whoo! 20 years to pay on that debt. I had 16. That was scary. I was literally, 48 months shy, 3 years shy, okay, of having it for 20 years. I will tell you this. It is one long slogging haul, okay? I don't recommend it. And like I said, mine went up by about 15,000, about 20,000, because it was 85, okay? So just shy of about 20,000 right around there. Yeah, after 16 years. There was no way I was going to be able to pay it off. Teachers don't make enough to pay off $100,000 student loans on one income by themselves. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but it's pretty darn hard. And then the other thing too is, okay, you can go ahead and refinance it. So one is you have the really long 20-year slog, boots on, wading through the mud, or you can say, okay, I'll take the what is that Ramsey says, the gazelle intensity way. Great, now your student loan doubles. So if you can afford the $600 a month payment, now how you can afford the $1,200 a month payment. I wish more people would think about these things before they just jumped out and got student loan debt. Yep, so it spirals you into insanity. The only thing that kept me from going insane was knowing that there was going to be student loan forgiveness. Even though I know certain people, don't believe in student loan forgiveness. I don't care your political views, whether you believe it, don't believe it, whatnot. I always knew it existed, and I knew it was just going to be a matter of time. That's really what it was. Okay, continuing on.
So I went to college in 2016, and my freshman year, I had to take out a couple of loans so I could go to school. Like most people do. After that, I worked multiple jobs, so I wouldn't have to take out any more loans. In fact, by my senior year, I paid for the whole thing by myself. So the loans I'm talking about are the loans from 2016. My mom, being the kind, wonderful, amazing human being that she is, took on one of those loans for me. Like, she's been paying it. And she has been paying it every single month since I took it out in 2016. Keep in mind, it is now 2023, so we're talking 7 years later. She told me as of a couple of weeks ago that she still owes the same amount of money on that loan as she did in 2016. Can't even make a dent in it.
Okay, and what did I just discuss with y'all, family? What did we just talk about? If you never make more than the minimum payment, all right, you never make more than the minimum payment. That minimum payment doesn't cover interest. And let's just say it does. Okay, fine. It does cover the interest. Your bill is still never going to change. You got to get into the principal. Also, this is clearly a Parent Plus loan. She took on part of it. And this is why I say parents should not take on student loan debt for their children if the parents don't have an account already immediately available to access to pay off the student loan debt. They should not do it. And like I said earlier, parents can lose jobs. Parents can get ill. Parents can have to be forced to retire early for medical reasons. Whatever. There's a myriad of different reasons. But parents taking on debt for their children to go to college when the parents don't, and I'm talking immediate means. To me, when you sign on a Parent Plus loan, it's just like being a co-signer. There's no difference. In fact, it's actually, to some extent, it's worse. Your child's not even on the loan. And a lot of parents, there are two things a lot of people who take on Parent Plus loans don't understand. The first thing is that Parent Plus loans are not as easy to transfer to your children as you think. People go, oh, well, I'll take on this Parent Plus loan because I'll get the money to put my child through school, but then we'll just refinance it in my child's name. Don't count on it. Don't count on it. It is harder to do because think about it like this. Why would a smart bank transfer the loan to your child? You're the one that has the job. You're the one that has the pensions, the IRAs, the 401ks, the house. You're the most immediate to Social Security access. They can garnish all that. What's your kid got? Nothing. You see? So it is not as easy to transfer it. Basically, to transfer it from you to the child, you pretty much have to show that your kid doesn't need it. And then if your kid doesn't need it, then why'd they need a Parent Plus loan from you to begin with? So that's one big problem that parents don't understand and children don't understand. When you take on a loan, it is all your loan. And the other thing that parents have to be careful of too is, who is actually going to be responsible for the college debt? Because you see, when you co-sign a loan, both people are actually on the loan. And I'm shocked, and I've done this listening to Ramsey calls. There are parents who take on Parent Plus loans and then think, oh, but my child's supposed to pay me back. Don't count on your child being able to pay you back. Again, your 18, 19, 20-year-old child has not experienced the real world and paying back debt. So they can look at you and go, oh, yes, mom and dad, I will pay you back every penny if you'll just send me to the school of my dreams. And then your kid realizes, oh my God, this is harder to do than I thought. So if you're a parent and you take on that Parent Plus loan, you need to think of it. It is your debt. Do not think of it as, oh, it's just easy, I'm just going to transfer it to my child. Don't think that. That's why I don't like Parent Plus loans. Okay, this one here says, back on with the glasses that I have on. Okay, when you took out a student loan for $30,000 after 10 years. Oh, let me read this again. Sometimes these TikTok lacking, punctuation marks. When you took out a student loan for $30,000 and after 10 years of paying on it, you now owe $38,000. Do I need to explain? Do we understand? I think we understand why. Again, you only paid the interest. And in this case, you never dipped into the principal. And because the bill's higher, that means you weren't even covering the interest. Think about it, family. Is it logical that you could have a $100,000 student loan and you only have to pay $300 a month on it? Really, is that logical? Is it really logical that you could have a $50,000 student loan and your payment is only $150 a month? The math ain't mathin', family.
I have $200,000 worth of student debt and I'm pretty ashamed of it. But here's the real tragedy. I got a full scholarship to college. My student debt came from graduate school and a certificate I earned after graduate school. If I'm being honest, I really regret it. I regret going to graduate school when I did, and I regret paying out of pocket for it myself. When I graduated from college, I was 21 years old, and I did the thing that I thought was best. I decided to go to graduate school because that's what most members of my family did. They went to graduate school.
See, monkey do. I did it because my family did it. I went to this school that is now ridiculously overpriced in the 2020s and 2024 because my family went there 30 years ago or whatever year ago. Monkey see, monkey do. In this day and age with college debt, don't do it. And not all parents, and I'm talking Gen X, my generation, there are a lot of Gen X parents that are disconnected as to what college is really costing. And not until they sign off on those Parent Plus loans and they get their hands involved in it, then they start to get an idea of what young people are going through.
And so in following in many of their footsteps, I went to pursue my master's degree.
So she goes on to get $200,000 in debt. And yet her college was completely paid for. Hey, I've been there. Learn from it, family. That's all we can do. Okay, I think we've got one here with some sad music. Let's see what she says on here. She seems like a beautiful lady, though. Me thinking about my $100K private student loan debt that is ruining my life while currently being unemployed and struggling to find work with a degree, certifications, and applied experience, and trying to avoid going further past due, destroying my credit, paying my rent and other bills on time. God love TikTok, but geez, people gotta learn to write sentences.
So, I went into $50,000, give or take, worth of debt and didn't even come away with a degree.
Oh, 50 grand. At least I had my degrees. One of them from the questionable University of Phoenix. The other one's from the University of South Florida. That's my teaching degree. But the questionable University of Phoenix. Oh, by the way, I have an acquaintance who just got her $30,000 student loan from the University of Phoenix forgiven. Like she just found out like 2 weeks ago.
I have very harsh feelings towards college. I appreciate the friends I made there, but that's about it.
I've never heard anyone say, man, the friends that I made there, or the people that I met there sucked. For the most part, you don't really hear that. It's not that nobody regrets the actual experience, okay? It's what that experience cost. I mean, I could go on a trip around the world. I could sell this condo, all right? I might be able to get 175 grand for it, all right? Sell it and go on a trip around the world. Would I regret the trip around the world? Of course not. Would I regret selling the condo? Yeah, quite a bit.
I think it was a waste of money. I feel like the experience was great. I just personally think that I could have gotten the same experience with way less debt or no debt by going elsewhere.
All right. This young chap says, graduated college like a year and a half ago, $50,000 in debt, never had a real job before, and bank account stays overdrafted every other week, still living at home. It's getting old. Ah, yeah. Living at home. You know, I think with the way the economy is, though, people are going to be living at home longer. I think the key, though, to living at home and making it effective, you need to have a job and be putting away money. I think if you're just living at home, slogging it out in your mother's basement, okay, playing TikTok and gaming all day, I don't think that's real constructive use of time. And if I were a parent, no, you would not be living in my home. I'm not a parent. So maybe that's easier said than done. But something tells me I'm pretty accurate about that. But if you're going to live at home, you need a full-time job and be shoving that money away. Not taking the money and going, hey, I live at home, so I guess it's a party every weekend. Yeah, so he's living at home. He's got $50,000 in debt. Start slogging, folks. Start slogging.
I think that most of us.
Okay, this is the last one. Now, this woman here, she's not the person in debt, but she's giving advice, and it's advice that I disagree with. So let's hear her out. For those who can't see the screen, you know how people write into TikTok, and the person wrote in and said, I'm $50,000 in college debt. Back to the glasses. I'm $50,000 in college debt and make $40K as a teacher. I'm here mostly. Okay, I don't know what the last part means, but she's $50K college in debt and making $40K as a teacher. So this woman on the screen, the blonde woman on the screen, is responding to her.
Can relate to this because college is forking expensive. I love the good place. Over 44 million Americans have student loan debt. But the good thing about student loans is that they're not bad debt.
Boom, and that's what I want to focus on, along with a couple of other things. Let me look you straight into the camera lens. There is no such thing as good debt. I was raised in the 80s, I'm 57, to believe that there was such thing as good debt. And what was that good debt? Look me in the eye. College debt. Oh yes, I was raised. And I literally remember, sitting it was at a credit union, all right, before I went bankrupt, and literally was told, college debt. Student loan, that's good debt. I want you to erase that permanently from your vocabulary and from your mind. It is the worst debt. You can't go bankrupt. They can follow you till the day you die. And you would be shocked at what you can go through in life, and that's still not forgivable. They will still make you pay it. When somebody says to you that college debt is good debt, I'm not going to say they're intentionally being dishonest, but I think there's a serious misunderstanding. Would your $50,000 student loan debt be any more attractive to you if instead of saying Navient on it, it said JCPenney's $50,000? You can go bankrupt on JCPenney's. Would your $50,000 student loan debt that you cannot go bankrupt on, would it look any more attractive to you if you had said, say it said Toyota on it because you went out and bought yourself a $50,000 car? Can't pay the car? Guess what? You can go bankrupt on it. We need to stop believing that college debt is good debt. Maybe 30 freaking years ago when I was, 10 and 20 years old, and it was actually affordable and it wasn't bankrupting families, maybe then, all right, we could say it's a good debt. And I'm choking ever so slightly on that. Today, absolutely not. It is not good debt. It's the worst debt you can carry.
If you're making your payments on time, then it can actually increase your credit score.
if you're making your payments on time, but those payments are not high enough to dip into the principal, just like the videos I've shown you, all that's going to happen is your bill's going to go up, and then you're going to be calling into the Dave Ramsey show, financial expert and guru. Oh, by the way, if you've made it this far into the video, I live stream the Dave Ramsey shows. I like to do commentary to them on Thursdays around 6:15, 6:30. So I hope you'll join me. Okay. So what winds up happening is, she says, you make your payments on it. Yeah, but how many students are going, oh, my payment's $100. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and book it at $300. Few to none. I won't say none. There are a few that will do it. As a matter of fact, population-wise, there's probably plenty of people that do it, but not enough to keep us from having $1 trillion in student loan debt now, is there? And also, who cares about your credit score? Who gives a flying darn rat's tootin' butt about your credit score when you're holding $50,000 in student loan for a college that you dropped out of, or $100,000 in private tuition? Forget your credit score. Your credit score don't matter squat when you're dealing with massive amounts of student loan debt. And let us remember, student loan debt and how big it is all relative to your income. So there are students who are holding 3 jobs because they have $20,000 in student loan bills. That seems as big of a mountain for them to climb as someone who has $60,000 as someone who has $90,000. It's all relative. But her saying, oh, well, this is the good debt, and as long as you're paying, the minimum payment on time, it'll help your credit score. Screw the credit score. Forget it.
Your student loan shouldn't be stopping you from saving for your other financial goals, such as building up your retirement or buying a house.
No, it should not stop you, but I guarantee it to you, it will stop you straight in your tracks. And if my soundboard were on, I would have that screech and break sound playing. Yeah, no, it shouldn't stop you. Buying too much house shouldn't stop you from your goals. Buying too much car shouldn't stop you from your goals. Heck, having too much credit card debt shouldn't stop you from your goals. But it does, and it will. You see? It does. I will tell you this. With my $110,000, if it had not been forgiven, here's what I'd already planned to do. I was going to retire with it. They would just simply have to... and I would have still kept making the minimum payments. I was actually planned until PSLF, Public Service Loan Forgiveness, came along. I was simply planning to retire with it. And the bill was just going to keep growing and growing and growing. And I would have just stayed on income based, probably made, $300 whatever dollar payments for the rest of my life. That was my plan. And why? Because I knew that if I didn't save for retirement, yeah, I could pay off the student loan, but then what was I going to retire on? So in my head, and I think it was the most logical decision I could make, all things considered, okay, medical conditions and everything else, I had just concluded, you know what, I'm going to retire with this thing, but I need to have something for retirement. I would rather have a 6-figure retirement account, a teacher pension, and some Social Security, and have them continue paying on my student loan, than to forego the private 6-figure savings account. I wasn't willing to forego it. Don't believe for a minute, okay, that student loan debt is good debt, and that your credit score matters a darn. Until that student loan really gets under control, your credit score isn't what you should be focusing on. Now, there are going to be people who go, but I want to buy a house, yada, yada, and I bought my condo with my $110,000 debt. Yes, they can work around your debt to a certain extent, okay, even when you're buying property. But the bottom line is, folks, it's not enough to just make the monthly payments on time strictly because you want a higher credit score.
Paying it off faster isn't always better if you're not able to save for your other goals. Because
you won't be able to pay it off faster. I can't commit to a $400 a month student loan payment and pay my car off faster. That's kind of like, I don't know what the term for it is, and I should know. I teach English, okay? But they don't go together. They don't go together.
Because especially with investing, it's not about timing the market, it's about time in the market.
And your time in the market isn't going to be very long, or if it is long in years, it's not going to be as much, because where's all that money going? To student loans. Don't find ways to talk yourself in circles around debt. There's lots of ways for us to convince ourselves that, hey, you know what? Our debt's not that bad. I have student loans, but guess what? I can still invest. I can still put money in the market. And granted, there are people who can, do, and will. But you could put more in if you didn't have the student loan debt. Because we could just as easily say, well, I have all this student loan debt. Well, that's okay. I can work 2 jobs to pay it off. Anybody want to take that road? I can work 3 barista jobs to pay it off. I can work a full-time job and a part-time job to pay it off. If you're not careful, it's my experience, and I mean my true life experience, that you can find a way to justify your debt. Okay? There's always a way to justify the debt. Well, I have the debt, but that's okay because I can still do this. I have the debt, but that's okay because even I was able to do this. But the thing people keep forgetting is you still have the debt.
Of course, if you have a ridiculously high interest rate, the story's a little different. Definitely.
Debt is debt is debt. Yeah, interest rates matter, sure. The amount of the debt matters. But talk to anyone who's achieved debt freedom. And part of the reason they were able to achieve debt freedom is they recognized that a $5,000 debt was no different than a $1,000 debt, was no different than a $50,000 debt. Yeah, I know on math, yes, there is a difference. But to a person who really wants to be debt free and wants to maintain it, because it's not enough to achieve debt freedom. You have to also have the skills and the desire and the motivation to maintain debt freedom. And I can tell you, as someone who's had total control of credit card bills and all of that stuff, okay? To me, at 57, I now recognize that it doesn't matter if it's $1,000, $5,000, $10,000, name the number. It's debt. It's something that I owe. And so long as I recognize that and I don't look for ways to dance around it, kind of like I feel like she's doing in this, oh, well, you can still have all the debt and you can still get into the market. Every dollar bill that you owe to someone else for something like student loans or cars, overpriced houses, no, I didn't say housing itself. You need housing. And for many of us, we need transportation. It's when it gets to a price that's beyond what you need and it starts just getting into, oh, this is just what I want. For every dollar you give up to someone else, that's a dollar you could have taken home for yourself. Remember that lady earlier in this video, what she could do with the $1,000, right? Folks, this has been absolutely fun. I want to thank you for joining me this evening on Consumer Debt Chit-Chat. I hope to see you on Thursday. I'll be live streaming. I live stream on Thursdays, usually around 6:15, right around there. I hope you'll join me. Folks, my time is up. Don't forget to subscribe. My time is up and so is yours. Happy Tuesday night. Bye, everyone.